Peace in the name of Allah. I'm Aubrey Muhammad. I pray that everyone is well. Ramadan Mubarak. Hempstead, Ramadan is the holy month that the Muslims and the righteous, Christians, practice Ramadan too, along with us, the righteous, because the righteous are the servant under the one God. And we do a 30-day fast. It started today. This is the first day from sunrise to sunset. We don't eat any food, don't drink any water, and we really don't do any extra activity, any extraneous activity, unless it's required. We read the Quran, one part every day for the 30 days. And it's beautiful. I just read I'm halfway reading the first part, and this is like what, my 20th time reading the Quran? And I think I read the Bible about 2 or 3 times, and I'm on the Reader's Digest illustrated version of the Bible. It's beautiful. It just flows. It just relates to me more than the King James. It was more in the Queen's English, but the Reader's Digest illustrated was more plain English, and it just, I related to it more better than the Queen's English, you know, for some reason. Even back when you think about Kemet, the ancient black civilizations, the European interpreters that went back to our ancient civilizations, went to our learning systems, that was a Kemetic higher learning system. The Lodge, the Mystery Lodge, the Grand Lodge of Luxor, that was a grand ancient mystery system. And when the Europeans went back there in the 1800s, they just came out of the caves and went back there as the custodians of history. This is the essence of white supremacy. They interpreted our ancient Kemetic, our Metu Neter, the hieroglyphics, they interpreted in the Queen's English. Everything you hear is, in the Queen's English. This is not good. We have to relearn that in our original tongue, the original mind, and tie it into our heart and soul. Got a deep spiritual. The people of soul. That our soul were put into these things because it balanced the earth and nature. When we take a European interpretation of it, we're looking at it through his lens, and we're hearing it through his verbiage. And we don't have it in our own mind. Our minds have been mapped with others. So Ramadan focuses us 30 days, reading the Quran, praying, fasting, no food, no water. Now, we as the Muslims and the Nation of Islam, that's been our thing for 90 years. Master Fard Muhammad, the Supreme Allah, taught us in the early 1900s to eat one meal a day of food and water in between, water and coffee you could drink in between that one meal a day, in between 4 and 6 p.m., depending on your work hours. And that's how I've been healthy. I started doing that since the late 80s. One meal a day, all I've eaten for all these years. And it has kept me lean and healthy. Really, I didn't have no health insurance for decades. Since the late 90s. That's right, the late 90s, I got off health care. And I went a long stretch without anything until I had injuries and stuff like that. I had to go get health insurance, get checked out for yearly, annual, and stuff like that. And Ramadan is purification. When you're eating the right food and you're thinking right, we have a saying, there's a method to how to eat to live, and there's also a way to think to live also. You can eat to live, and if your thinking ain't right, that's like a bad, that can be a moral constipation. That can be, the thinking don't coincide with the eating. So the eating complements us as a substance of our survival, how we live. So when you fasting and you abstain from this worldliness, food, if you can do it from food, you can survive. If you have vitamins, take vitamins every day, eat the navy beans every day. It has the nutrients, the amino acids. It lets you go a long time without eating. So we do the 30-day fast, and it's beautiful. You don't have any food, any water. You just saw me sipping because it's past sunset. But do as much as you can, and you'll see immediate change in your life. And as you read the Quran, or some of y'all can Christians even read the Bible. They read like Revelation or Psalms or some other part of the Bible in 30 days. They break it down in 30 parts and they read it. Some people read conscious books in 30 days. That's beautiful that Ramadan affects you like that, because you can see you can feel the purification. You're lighter. You ain't got all that stuff on your mind. You know, the mind, the brain, and the digestive system are the number 1 and 2 utilizations of your body blood. Your blood is plasma. That's the 4th form of matter. You know how they miseducated us in school? They taught us that there were 3 forms of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. But it's plasma. That's your blood in the clouds. The plasma, the pressure. And when you purify the body, it optimizes how it works. You start losing all that fat, man. You feel free, like a new person. You can be very overweight. I just had a pandemic belly. I had to start knocking that bad boy out. I started getting like a belly excess around my stomach and my sides, so-called love handles. Yes, I had to loosen up the suits, the pants anyway. I put the little extension on there with the little elastic. Had to make way before I could get to the cleaners or alter. But I said, nah, I'm not altering my suits. Well, I'm going to knock out this pandemic belly. That's exactly what it was. A lot of snacks I was eating, and I was driving a black car a couple of years back, right before this happened, and doing the Uber Eats and stuff. And I was making a little something. It fit me well, you know, a little low income. But I was vegetarian. I was sitting all the time, driving those late hours and stuff. I started gaining weight, 180. I'm supposed to weigh like 165. It's my optimum weight, 165. I'm 6'1", 56, and I'm striving to be young. I'm striving to be old, a wreck, a mess. It's all in the mental. Fasting from this world gives you infinite life. You ever heard a Christian say eternal life? It's all a thought. Beautiful people. It's all a thought. And if you can discipline yourself, 30 days. Most goals are obtained in 30 days. If you could do something for 30 days, you can do it for life. And if you don't eat, you know, your system is optimized. When you think a lot, mind power is something else. That take a lot of energy, a lot of blood, oxygen to the brain. When you're thinking, have complex thinking, it's called pressure on the mind. That's for real. That's putting things, complex thinking about one thing while you're thinking about something else, calculating it, put it in perspective and holding on to that thought. It takes a lot of blood to the brain. And if the brain is overthinking, that's why we shouldn't worry. Worry kills your mind power. Did you know that? And if you have a lot of food in you, especially meat, red meat that's hard to digest, anything that's hard to digest, starch, it's hard to digest. If you got that in your digestive system, it's unprocessed, it's undigested, and it's sitting there, that's your blood working on that stuff. And now it takes blood to operate the brain for optimum thinking, for focused thinking. Focus, that takes a lot of energy. To not be distracted, peace, let nobody break your peace. That's serious self-discipline. That's your mind, focusing right there, taking away from everything else. So if you're fasting, there's no food in your digestive system, because some food take like 24 hours to 72 hours to digest. I've recently been on 72-hour fast. It worked, they're beautiful. 3 days without any food, just water and coffee. And if you are in a house and you have the AC on and you have the lights on. You have the lights on and the air conditioner. Sometimes in the summer when it get real hot and that AC kicks up high, what happens when it kicks in? 2 things on one electrical line. The lights go dim. The AC kicks in, the lights in your house go dim. That's because they're both drawn from the source. So it is with the brain and the digestive system. If you're just full of food, that's all you're doing is eating all these times a day, that stuff adds up and it's bloat, and that's the excess fat and stuff. And then your brain is trying to pull from that same blood. That's the inefficiency. And blood throughout the body. That's the essence of Ramadan. A self-discipline away from material things like food, even sex during the daylight hours. And we shouldn't do anything very extra that takes a lot of energy. We should relax and focus on reading the Quran and fasting and, praying. When you pray more, that really focuses your thoughts and everything. But that's just a little history of Ramadan and the benefits of it. And you should all participate. You know, in Ramadan, read some scripture, do some fasting, do something on Ramadan. You will truly be benefited. And I see some people have come in, and that's good. I don't see any comments yet. But my subject today absolutely is the necessity of manhood training. You know, that's missing in our community, in womanhood training, manhood training and womanhood training. But me as a brother, I'm speaking from the manhood perspective because that's my thing. I shouldn't be all up in women business and stuff in the training. Sisters would do that for you. Cultivated sisters, strong sisters, focused sisters, learned sisters, genuine sisters who care. Teach the sisters the training. But for the men, that's manhood training. It is impossible. It take a man to make a man. In this American society, you are not raised a man. You just raise some citizen American. You mainly savage. This is one of the most savage civilizations on the planet. The Caucasians that came over here, invaded over here 500 years ago. They were up in Europe. We had them bottled up. The Moors, we ruled Europe, came up out of that. We hid America from them. The Moors were traveling back and forth. Where do you think those myths came from? El Dorado, the city of gold, all the grand things in the West. That was the Moors traveling back and forth with spices and gold and all these different products like the tobacco. And when that gold got back to Europe, gold was scarce in Europe. So the Europeans, the Caucasians, they were like, what is this land? The Moors lied to the Caucasians. They saw how combative they were, how troublemaking they were, how anti-nature Caucasian people are, especially towards black people, how anti-black they are, naturally. They have complexes against black people, fear of genetic annihilation, a Chronos complex. Can't take instruction from black people. Have a natural fear. Did you know that? Because we haven't been taught that in school. We lied to the Caucasians up in Europe and told them that the earth was flat. They said the world is flat. If you go off toward the edge, you'll fall off. And many of them, they tried us. They said, well, if the earth is so flat, how come you coming back with all these spices and gold and everything and this beautiful stuff? And we want to find El Dorados, and that's when they came out. And Columbus was not lost. He had navigators with him, the Moors, showed him where it was. It was not a simple trip, but it was a common trip. So when they came, you know, the native people over here, it was blacks over here too, native black and native Peloponnesian, Hindu, Indian, and the Nile Valley, the Indus Valley, Ghana. Black people were traveling back and forth here for thousands of years and coexisted in peace. We did not have the same relationship with native people as Caucasian did. 500 years of destruction, hell-raising, scorched earth right here in the wilderness of North America. It's called the wilderness because of the wild mind, man, the wild thinking. A cave mentality. We lived like Caucasoid. So he miseducated us. He taught us to be him. I remember that crap in school. Right in Prospect School, I remember that propaganda, that indoctrination, that brainwashing. It was wicked as hell, man. It gave me an inferiority complex. Henry Hudson. They taught me Christopher Columbus. I know there's a movement to remove him from the school, which is good. But there was Henry Hudson, Amerigo Vespucci. He did not name the West. It's not named after him. That Amr actually is the prince. That's the Arabic. Ica and Ica are the original Nazca that predate the Incas down in Peru. but they just combine. They always do that. They find someone like Americo Vespucci and Leo Africanus. They find some name to claim that they're naming a continent. You know, that's in the scripture. I just read that in the Quran today, the first part of our reading of the 30 parts, where Allah told Adam to name everything. Well, that Adam is not the original man. That's not the black man. That's the second Adam. That's the Caucasian coming out of Europe. That's why his Bible dates the creation of 6,000 years. The 6,000 years is not our history. 6,000 years, we long ago built pyramids, built civilizations, spread out. Atlantis was all around the world. The ancient Atlantis was a global black civilization. Those are our ancestors. They were beautiful people. They were the righteous. They were the gods. 6,000 years ago, the Garden of Eden, that's the Nile Valley. That's the holy city of Mecca. That was all one unit then. Back then, Africa, so-called Saudi Arabia, was all one place. 6,000 years ago, the Sahara was a blooming paradise. The Sahara, that big desert, Allah did it like that. Took a plush and lush garden. That Sahara was a beautiful paradise. His civilization buried under the sand there. And he dried it up like that. Caucasians came into the Nile Valley 6,000 years ago. And our natures were not taught to us. When Caucasians taught us in these schools, they taught us that everything happened when he saw it, when he discovered it. 6,000 years ago is his birth date. We have no birth date. Original man does not have a birth date. Why we don't have a death date? Why we don't have doomsday in our scriptures? That all went up into Europe. And we were taught that the things that matter, the first thing, the discoveries, all that is when Caucasian people, pale skin, blonde hair, blue eye, pointed to it and said, look, I discovered this. Go look at him. He's amazed at things. The first on the moon. You don't travel the universe and the galaxies physically. It's done through the machinery, those wheels. It's a spiritual trip. It's a connection. Most of the sages and the griots, they go out in the forest and they're praying and they go into their own minds and they connect throughout the universe. This is why we never want to get into a spacesuit, jump up there. We're always connected. We know the universe. This is what we taught in the Nile Valley and our grand mystery system. We have a teacher and it's righteousness. That's what we taught in Cordoba. This is what we taught in Timbuktu. We have an ancient righteous teaching. We didn't pollute the earth. We didn't rape resources. The Caucasian European, he has a scorched earth mentality. And he manifested here when no one could touch him. He had free reign over in the Western Hemisphere after he killed off all the warriors. Plenty of Native American and blacks over here had that fire spirit, a fight that killed us off. Most of it through disease. And we were taught that things didn't matter, nothing was here, and nothing was first until he named it. This is why he named everything European. We had ancient names for the cosmos, the constellations, everything. And then he got it and he put the European name on it. That's the second Adam, the 6,000 years of the Bible, of the Garden of Eden. We are on this planet a long time before that. But he had the will and the power to teach us. And he miseducated us. He broke us. He feminized us. Sitting in Prospect School, I'll never forget it. I could smell the wood logs now. I could smell the crayons. I could smell the Play-Doh and the other things, the sticks and all of these items in the school. The construction paper, that thick colored construction paper we cut with scissors to make things. I could see that and I could feel the texture. That mesmerized me, that I was there. Henry Hudson discovered the Hudson. It was original people and native people over here for thousands of years. 16,000 years we were over here. And even before that. But we had a mission 16,000 years ago. And all of that was buried and hid underneath. But we're taught things didn't happen until Lewis and Clark went across America. Henry Hudson discovered. I went on that trip. I remember the little ship I cut out, and I'm taking our conquerors and slave masters, and I'm imagining myself in their shoes in the school and being taught this, indoctrinated by black teachers. Mainly, Prospect School, we had plenty of black teachers. Prospect School was all black in the 70s. You see the school pictures on my Facebook page? We were all black in those schools. And many of the teachers were black, but they didn't teach us black consciousness. They taught us whatever we were fed, and we consume whatever we're fed, because they make it law when it's illegal for us to be black. That caused an inferiority complex in me. We don't think we could do nothing unless we tag along with him. Then we saw ourselves. I remember this. I'm living it now. I can feel it right now. Prospect School, elementary school, like third grade, even kindergarten. No, first grade, second grade, third grade, about third grade. Sailing along with these adventurers. And it would be so compelling, so revealing. This is the discovery. This is new. This is what is. These Europeans were wicked as hell. Satan in the flesh. Native people treated them like that. Except a few that read the prophecies, like Montezuma. When Cortez came, the Aztec king, the mighty Aztec king, he just fell into a swoon when he saw Cortez. He said, this must be the one that left us. What's his name? I'm pronouncing it wrong. I need to pronounce this right. Quetzalcoatl. Somebody please, I'll put it in the comment sections if it's real wrong. But I know I'm not pronouncing it right. Quetzalcoatl. He was the feathered serpent and the civilization giver. And he came to the Aztecs, and this is what's written in the scripture. And he said, I'll leave, but I will return. Montezuma thought that Cortez was this god. Montezuma was a devil. Montezuma brother believed that. Montezuma just broke. He was broken. This man prophesied to come. I gotta let it be. Do you know what they did to the Aztecs, man? These Cortez, Christopher Columbus. These were terrorists, man. These were ghouls. They were burning people alive, eating people, babies, feeding them, the dogs, all type of man. Rape was just a way of life, rampant, burning at the stake, enslaving, beating, everyday terror. That's all they were. Terror and hell and the devil on 2 feet, 2 legs, walking the earth. Some people were mesmerized by the prophecy. Not Montezuma's brother. He said these people are devils. They tried to leave that Aztec civilization with all that gold. They melted down all the gold. They were in the palace. They had Montezuma in the palace. Saying, tell your people we're the righteous ones of that fire serpent that said he would return. The bearded one. That's me. Montezuma was teaching us, man. He was broken. The great, most powerful ruler in the Western Hemisphere at the time. That was Montezuma. All them warriors. And he just capitulated, folded, because of superstition. Not his brother. When they tried to escape on those boats, full, the horses, across the little skinny road, across the moat, the Aztec civilization was beautiful. The Olmec civilization, beautiful. The Mayan civilization, beautiful. Even North America, the pyramid building, those complexes were beautiful, laid out. They balanced the earth. Everything was in nature, lined up with the cosmos. We know the cosmos. We know the universe. Back then, thousands of years ago, they tried to skip out in the middle of the night with all that gold. I mean, this was tons of gold on horseback. And the warriors saw him. That was Montezuma's brother. And he cut him down with arrows. And the greed, the irony is that the Spaniards, with all this gold, had they dropped the gold, and when they were shot with those arrows, which were poisonous arrows too, even the horses got hit. They would have let that gold settle down and die with the horses, but they were so greedy. You're holding on to your plunder. It's just greed. They had a saying that nothing satisfies the Caucasians' lust except for gold. He has a lust for gold that is insatiable. That's the same. His lust for gold is insatiable. And it ain't gold, it's your soul. Shot them down and they drowned themselves because they wanted to hold on to the gold. These were the ancient people. We had training. You had the manhood training. The Aztecs, original people, would take our, and in Africa too, all original people, we had manhood training. You had to be trained to be a man, a warrior. You had to fight. God damn it. You had to kill. In the highest, some places around the world, you had to go out hunting with your spear. You didn't have much. You had to go against a wild beast and kill a wild beast. Right? Bring them back. Then you would wear some item from it, but we would use the meat, or we use the skin. We use every part of what we killed. We wouldn't waste anything. All this lust and greed comes from Europe, the European. Look at the native people with the buffalo. They didn't just go around killing no buffalo indiscriminately. They said a prayer and a sacrifice. Some of these animals learned to sacrifice themselves. You know, the weak ones, they would pick them off. And there would be a balance with nature. Not with the European. We were taught, be selfish, do whatever you want. It's all ours. Get as much as you want. Don't care about nobody else. And many of us got that same mind today because he mapped our minds. When he miseducated us, I looked up at that board in Prospect School, at the chalkboard that with the ships of Henry Hudson up on the board. And I went on that journey. Christopher Columbus, I was on that journey. The Maria, whatever the ships were. And I believe that this was discovery. Then later on in life, we come to find out it's all a lie. It's all wickedness. It's all greed. It's all plunder. First thing they did, now millions of black people, we were in the Western Hemisphere, but the first thing they did, when they took us to the Caribbean, when Columbus went to Cuba and Dominican Republic, that island, he murdered and just did all hell. Murder, rape, burning, forced them to dig the gold, cutting off hands if they didn't make quotas, stuff like all type of inhumane stuff that common decency doesn't let me describe it to you on this platform. But we relied on this man's teaching. And the first thing he did was he stripped us of the knowledge of self. That's the worst robbery you can do a human being. You can put them in prison, they'll be captured, and the worst prison is the darkness of your own mind and ignorance. And he taught that ignorance. He brainwashed us. He broke us down in the Caribbean. That was the breaking station. They didn't bring us to America. They planned this in 1492. That was Columbus. You ever heard of 64 hidden years of history? Well, there are two of them. They're 1492, when they conquered us in Europe and overran us and decided to come over to Africa and here, the West, to make us servants. But they had to destroy our mentality. They had to destroy our minds. They had to destroy our way of life, our family. And they put us on, that was Cape Verde Island, 64 years. And in 1555, that was Sir John Hopkins, who put us on a ship named Jesus and brought us here in 1555. But we were over here since the 1490s because they were planning the humiliation of us. It was a vicious, wicked system. That apex right here in America. Down in Jamaica, they took black people from Africa, and there was native black people here too. Native Latina, the Tatiana people of that island, Cuba, right next to Jamaica and Jamaica. They broke us. They took the meekest slaves, the ones who capitulated the most. They studied us like a demon, studying from the periphery of hell, trying to get a peek into the universe. And a demon is studying how to do it. How do I get into heaven? I'm cursed. I'm condemned. I'll never make it. But let me destroy others who are on their way there, knowing I can't get there. It's a fire barrier against me. That's Iblis. After Adam was given the name of everything in creation, all were told about Adam because he named them, except Iblis. That is Satan. Iblis was an angel made of fire and air. He said, I can't bow to animals made out of black mud, fire, air, and water. He couldn't compute that. He was so arrogant. And that was the beginning of rebelliousness of the spirit. He thought he was better than us. Caucasians took us down from Jamaica, broke us, got the most meek slaves. That was not thoroughbred, but that was like, you know how you take a litter of wolves, and each wolf, you go, and we did this, 6 times, we domesticated the dog from the wolf. All dogs come from the wolf, but there's the meekest puppies of wolves that we go on and we mix them together. Then another meek wolf will come, and we take those offsprings, and depending on which part of the world you're in, those became our domesticated dogs. We had original people had domesticated dogs around the world for thousands of years, and it was only like a dozen or so, maybe 20, the most, around the world for thousands and thousands of years. All these dog types and little doggies you see today, these thousands of breeds, that came from Europe. He got the dog. That's the only thing who would befriend him. Everyone else said, man, something is wrong with this man. This man is anti-nature, anti-black, anti-God. He destroyed everything he touched. When he was in the caves of Europe, the big cats, the wolf, tried to kill him. No other people in nature have that happen to. You go to the Amazon, you see the native people, they'll dip into the Amazon, splash the little children with piranhas. The piranhas won't touch them. Crocodiles. Now we got to watch out for crocodiles. The Nile Valley crocodile. There's an ancient saying, deep and ancient is the fear of the silence of the crocodile, but mainly not to the degree that the wolf and the big cats went after Caucasian people. They went to attack them. The first thing he did when he came out the caves and hillsides of Europe, that was a 6,000 and 4,000 year period. That 2,000 year period in the caves made him a hell of a man. You don't see him now. We see the refined man. We cultivated him in the Nile Valley. And when he emerged from them caves, the first thing he did was killed off all the original people. Murdered everyone. Everybody didn't turn Caucasian up. Didn't turn pale skin, blonde hair, blue eyes, like him up in the cave. There were black people up in Europe. Did you know that? They're not teaching us that. They're not teaching us manhood training. There was the Grimaldi black people. The Cro-Magnon, that's the black man. The Neanderthal was black. He predated all of them. Cheddar Man was black. He had blue eyes, but he was a black man. All of these people stayed black, but because something happened to the Caucasian, he was grafted. That was selective breeding that brought that about. Because nothing else took on the characteristics that he did to be in that environment. The fauna, the mammals, nothing turned blonde hair, blue eye, and attacking the original things that it come from. Nothing. Why have we taught this in school? Why would we question this? This should be in school. We need to discuss this. Why was that uniquely you? Why do all animals try to kill you? When he reemerged from them caves, he killed off all original people that was in his sight. He killed off the big cats and the wolf. They just reintroduced the wolf back to Europe. Back in the 90s, I think it was. The wolf, he ran the wolf out of Europe. Extinct. That wolf went extinct in Europe and was not reintroduced until like the 1990s, I believe it was. And you're never going to see the big cats back there. Then when he came over to America, what did he do? He killed off all the buffalo for fun and glee and original people by the millions. He did this by the millions. And we think that this is the first time anything happened. This is the man we follow and emulate. You do it indirectly because he teach you in a public school system. Even the private ones, even worse. The Native American used the hides for building material. For all type of cook, the bones And every last piece of the buffalo was utilized. Every last piece of the deer was utilized. They didn't murder off the beavers like that. You had to murder off the beavers for trade. They didn't murder off the lynx for his fur at those severe rates. You were the greedy one. You raped the earth. We take from the earth what we need and we turn back what belongs to the earth for recycling. We imbalance it, but you just greed and lust and you hoard all the resources that comes from your time in the caves of Europe. They built the city-states, the forts. And they teach this to us in public school. And when you shine to be an example of a man, they will move against us. During slavery, any strong black men that they found, any Muslims in particular, that they found during slavery, they would kill us. You were strong, you showed aggression, you were made an example of. Because that's the law of nature says you can't keep something down. You can't kill the original man, and you can't keep our nature down. They would make an example out of us in front of everyone else. And they did what was called buck breaking. They would rape a man. The Caucasian male they would gang rape a black man in front of his wife, in front of his children. Outright, this was done for hundreds of years. And this was from so-called meek slaves from Jamaica. Then we came here. We were the meekest ones. That's phenomenal. That they would set up that they would engineer to take a human being and hold us hostage on plantations. Think over that. What's going on in a man's mind? The way he would hold you hostage at gunpoint, in whips, in terror every day, hostage on plantations, in mills, and all other exploitive arenas for hundreds of years. Something is real wrong with that mind in the man. So we thought the first thing that could happen to us was to be closer to Caucasian people. The first this, the first that. I'm the first Surgeon General. He's the first lawyer, the first black this, the first black that. You teach that dumb crap, man. That is ignorance. You are not connected to our people and our past. You don't have any roots in our people. Nothing to cultivate there. Because you're detached. You're still colonizing the mind. You still got that plantation mentality. That the first discovery is whatever he said it was. The first man on the moon. The first this, the first that. We believed it. The first thing he did was broke up black families. The first thing he did. You talk about black families, family structure, what's needed. That's the first thing he did. He destroyed the black family. You could not marry. And he broke them in. He turned us into homosexuals. He did it in interior Africa before we even left the motherland. And then the blacks that were here, our ancestors here, raped and pillaged them, raped the men. The man is a sick, twisted mind. And you today, you ain't no natural homosexual, black people. It didn't exist in our civilizations. You got to go to Greek to find two men making love to each other. And Plato talking about semi-sweet Dion from Syracuse, a boy, the Greeks wanting boys. This was looked down upon in the Nile Valley. You go to the Nile Valley, you see the black man and the black woman is God. We there together with our child, but not in Europe. When you go to Rome and Greece, you find this puny complex. You go to the Nile Valley, you find elongated penis phallus symbols in the metuneta, in the statues. Natural, wasn't nothing pornographic about that. Men holding hands, naturally. Black men holding each other's hand was a way of life. Hugging each other, kissing each other, and the greetings. Good to see you, brother. But in Europe, he turned on himself. Something is abnormal about him on the planet. This needs to be taught. You need to take notice of this. Caucasian teach everything under the sun on this planet in the universe. He searches the universe except his nature. He will not talk about it. It's taboo. Caucasian people's nature is deep. It's so invasive. It's so influential that we just disregard it. After he busted up the families, he did what he pleased with us. He shaped us into him. Remember the scripture says, let us make man? He had that power. Let me make a man. What I'm going to do? He made a nigger and a Negro. The only nigger and Negro is a white man nigger and Negro. And you know where the nigger come from? Him. He's the nigger. Isn't that something? Go look at Trump. Trump a real nigga. Look at Trump. Trump do some stuff. Black people, that's why we really dislike him, because he manifests that. It's like how they call us niggas sometimes. It'll trigger you, pow, you punch somebody. They call you nigga at the right or wrong moment. It reminds you of the wretchedness we know we have not escaped. You got to get the knowledge of self. Accept your own and be yourself to kill that lowly spirit. He taught us to be other than ourselves and to hate God, to hate nature. If we were found getting married, we would be punished for reading. We couldn't read on those plantations. We couldn't have families. We had to hide our families. And at any moment, he could come and take our women. Most of the time, some of us fought against them. There were hundreds of rebellions. We just went killing their asses. Nat Turner's the most famous, but there were hundreds of those rebellions where we were burning their crops and sabotaging stuff. But for the most part, we capitulated and we wanted to survive, and we took it as a way of what? Remember the movie Roots? And, it's James Evan. Yes, that's right. No, not James Evan. John Amos. Said the Good Times character named John Amos. Played Kunta Kinte. Remember Kunta Kinte? He had given that man, I'm getting out of here. LeVar Burton was a young Kunta Kinte that got broken into Toby. But James Amos played the grown Kunta Kinte. And he met a brother in the woods. The brother was playing the drums. Where's the drums coming from? He went up into the woods. It was a Muslim brother. He said, Assalamu alaikum, brother. He said, we're getting out of here, man. The next time you hear the drum, come on. And he said, I'm glad I got to get the hell. That was all of our thoughts, man. That's all we wanted, to get the hell away from them. Very few of us sellouts. A lot of sellouts and Uncle Toms you see today, like on that Hempstead Village board, all of these boards of these Negroes sell out, they got them ancestors for sellouts. Kunta Kinte said, we getting on the boat out of here as soon as I hear them drums. He was on his way, and Gladys came to him, his wife. She tracked him down. She saw he was leaving. She said, I know you want to leave, I know, but look at your family. Think about your family. They need you and stuff like that. So he stayed. And he missed the boat, but he wanted to get on the boat. Many of us would have got on the boat. And the family, you want to stay here, you could die. That was our sentiments. But he stayed. And you see the consequence. At any moment, daughter, remember Lizzie was taken away? She was reading. The little Miss, who was that? Miss, I forgot. The daughter that was playing games with her, it was sick. This relationship was sick, y'all. Kizzy, Lizzie Uggams played Kizzy. Kizzy was a little girl playing with a white girl. They were humiliated. Some of them little Caucasian children were taught these wicked scenarios like hell, to ride on black children like horses. Look at me, I'm riding on a little nigger horse and playing all type of sick games with black children in that house. With the little children. Then at night you got to go back to Slave Row. But she taught her to read because she wrote that pass. Was that Chicken George that used the pass and he got caught with it? Somebody was trying to escape. I forgot. No, that was Lawrence Washington. What's the brother name that played Cochise on Cooley High? That brother, he played a character. She wrote him a note, a pass. She forged it. She wasn't supposed to know how to write. But the little demonic baby white daughter of, what's his name from the Brady Bunch? Y'all remember Roots, don't y'all? Y'all watch that. It's a very relevant movie. Most of it, all of it, not. We were here. Our roots are here and in the motherland. This is a branch root. We're here. She, how, in a wince of an eye, at the blink of an eye, you can sell your daughter to some other freak. Most of those slave masters, think over this. This is for us Muslims and the righteous. Think over this deeply. Most slave masters were in secret societies. Most of them were in the temples. Most of them were Masons. You couldn't own a slave if you were not in their school of thought, because you had to play psychological tricks on the slaves. You had to dehumanize us. It was a whole playbook. You saw the Willie Lynch book, the Willie Lynch letter. That was for real. It was a brother that came up and said, oh, I did that. I put together that book. It's possible he did that, but in all probability, he did not. I don't see any of his previous works. Most people, at least when they come up with great monumental works like that, you'll see their preceding works, letters and papers and stuff, and little pamphlets they may write, 1 or 2 pages. Everybody does that. And it'll be based on the material, then you see the growth. There was no track record of that. It just popped out of the blue, because it was not. It was the actual manual that they had. And some more were worse than that, more intricate than that. You see Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. So the Willie Lynch manual, it can have an historic meaning, because that happened to us. And if you were a slave master, they wouldn't let you give privileges to slaves, because this whole thing is humiliation. They can't get to God, so that they attack and destroy his people, because we are the people of God. The mighty tribe of Shabazz in the Western Hemisphere. I'm glad to introduce you to yourself. Ramadan Mubarak. You know who you are. We are all those tribes, the children of Israel. That's us. Each tribe, I just read that in the Quran today. I just read that in the Quran today. The first part of the Quran. Each tribe of the 12 tribes had their spot to drink, and we knew where to drink from, our spot. We're a global people. We've been miseducated, stripped of our manhood, buck broken. Go watch Brother Tariq Nasheed's Buck Breaking. Please watch it. And his whole Hidden Colors series. That whole Hidden Colors series breaks down a lot of this. And there's much more of this. But the emasculation of the black male was to make Caucasian men feel comfortable. They naturally feel intimidated and threatened by black males. When you go to the Nile Valley, you find elongated penises. Up in the, not only the mummies of our ancestors, up in the Medinetta in stone. Statues and stuff like that. There's nothing pornographic about it. You go to Europe, you find the David standing up there, the little puny complex. He has a puny complex, a small penis complex, a smallness complex, a not relating to nature complex. And you cannot let this man continue to miseducate. He is our educator. He is our trainer. In essence, he's still your master. If he mapped your mind and coordinated, and you're operating out of his sphere influence. So he taught us to be other than ourselves. And the one thing you could not be is a man in front of him. And he's not bold enough now to admit it. He's never going to admit this. And many of you public school administrators on a school board, you educators, you're too frightened to address the obvious. Because you're the blind. You have been miseducated. You have been emasculated. And you're comfortable with your little salary, going through the motions. Nobody's rallying. Nobody's Speaking of, nobody's crying. Nobody has pain points to present to you about this education because you're so proud of it, so glad to get a job from it. We're missing manhood training. We must do this for our youth. It's the only way to be a man. Caucasians do it in their private school. The Jews do it. I've been to synagogue in Forest Hills. They had a outreach program. I took a Hebrew class, Judaism 101. It was some other stuff they had. It was a Jewish rabbi, young gentleman. I forgot his name. I had deep respect for him. He was the rabbi, a young rabbi. He had an outreach to all that community in Queens. That was near Rego Park. I was living in Rego Park at the time. And it was Queens Boulevard, over there, that Jewish area. Am I saying, is that Forest Hills, I believe? Yeah, the train stop over there, Continental, that whole area over there. It's a synagogue over there. And they had an outreach. And there was a lot of black people who attended those courses and stuff. And Intro to Judaism. And I took the little Hebrew class, and it was good. And they were teaching. The elders, they would teach a class where elders and children would be in the same class. And that teacher, she was militant. She was cutting corners, pow, stomping the feet. Be a brave soldier. That's teaching the youth. The hell they teach you in school, to be a dumb laborer and servant on your smartphone. Rabbi was teaching, but he believed that the Jews were the chosen of God. And these were Caucasian Jews in Forest Hills. And I went and I saw that and I respected them. So obvious they aren't the chosen, because of this wicked system of white supremacy that you uphold. It's one of the most wickedest systems on the planet. Where's the righteousness? Israel means light of the world. Israel means light of the world. In Jerusalem, at the center, you're supposed to be an example for the world. Look how you're treating the Palestinian people. You're treating them like dogs. Look at the black people in America. You are educators. And Sonny Carson stood up in the 70s to put black studies in the schools. It was a whole bunch of Jewish teachers that came out to protest. No, don't change what we miseducating your people. See, that's the wickedness. That is wickedness and evil. When you will teach your Jewish children pride, heritage, greatness, mastery, be the master. Let them be your servants. You be the manager. They be your worker. You be the owner. They'll be the employee. When you teach that to your children, but then you go to a black children, you're the same person. You will go to a black child and teach them to be a servant, that you're inferior, that you're nothing, you're lowly. The first time ever something was discovered when we saw it. It's the first time it was seen. It don't matter unless it means something to us. That's evil and wickedness and hypocrisy. That's the main curse that pale-skinned Jewish people have. If you took that righteousness and you were spreading it around, I mean, Sister Dr. Ava Muhammad one time remarked, said, you never see a Jewish person in our neighborhood with Moses Speaks. Come on, y'all. Get yourself together, black people. Let's get together. Let's rally. Let me teach you what I know about yourself. They always under-aimed us through miseducation. But that synagogue did the outreach, which was, I respected them and I salute them, but I learned a lot. And I've been to other schools, private school, public school, and I've seen information on private knowledge, man. They're making us dumb, deaf, and blind. They're dumbing us down in the public schools, and it's on purpose. The first thing they teach in their schools is heritage, and to dominate, to take control, to aim you at the top. I took a course of business marketing at York College. Then I took a course. I transferred from New York Institute of Technology. In the early 90s, I was there for electrical engineering. Then I got so much into self-business, I was importing stuff from Ghana and Egypt. And I was looking towards getting stuff from Ghana, but I was doing stuff from Peru, of the Inca and Nazca civilization. the art and jewelry and stuff. I love that stuff. And I was in New York Institute of Technology, met a good brother. We started doing imports, perfumes, jewelry, a lot of stuff from Egypt. And we were looking towards Ghana, and I did myself stuff from Peru. And that I switched to business management because I was doing the other business. I didn't want to do the electrical engineering. That was too much math. You had to be focused for math. You know, the brain have to be focused for calculus and all those mathematical equations. You got to love math to be an engineer. So I switched to business marketing. The difference between a bachelor's and business marketing at New York Institute of Technology, which was way times more in the 90s than public schools, City College, and York College. When I transferred to York, because I was going to build up all them credits there and switch them back to private. The tuition was ridiculous. It was phenomenal. That New York Institute of Technology tuition then, I think it was $100 a credit. Even I'm not sure now. I don't remember, but that was the 90s. It was absurd. And the only difference in those two courses, New York Institute of Technology and York College, the only difference in those two courses, a bachelor, was the course at the private New York Institute of Technology in one course. It was one course, managerial accounting. That was the one course. It was one book, and I studied that course myself. I learned a one-day MBA. I used to do self-study all the time. And this is what they do at private schools. It's not no big difference. It's what they aim at. It's what they tell you about yourself, what they teach you about yourself, what they inspire you to be. And the public school inspires you to be nothing. Emasculated men, no families, don't build up your community. They don't teach you civics. They emasculate black men. These other teachers shouldn't teach black children. White teachers shouldn't be nowhere near black children. That creates an inferiority complex. You don't think nothing can happen till they do it. If we did that to them, they would declare war. Look at the little skirmish you're trying to make with them with critical race theory, which is weak, which doesn't teach us our strength, community, and nationalism in the community like it does Greek, Italian, and Jewish people. Nationalism they practice in their community. The Jews have a 52nd step, 51st state, Israel. They have dual citizenship. You can't go and teach no Jewish child no crap, but a Jewish teacher will miseducate a Christian. Black people, you can no longer accept the education from our enemy and oppressor. And as my brother Mathematics said, he said it wisely. He said black people today can't see their enemy. This is so correct because it's so layered in this society. They don't have to say white anymore. Me, I'm breaching taboos and stuff, and I'm talking about stuff. But that's not what they present on the curriculum. That's not what they say on the school website, on the village website. The board at the Hempstead Village Board, the Hempstead Village Board of Education, on their website, you don't see culture. You don't see refinement. You don't see community building. They say excellence and success stories. You're a successful slave. That's an oxymoron. You're successful at serving. And we got to stop it. Let me see if there's any comments here. Nah, I can't see them anyway. Sorry, y'all. But let me get back to manhood training. That's the only way to make a man. It's the only way to make a man. Excuse me just 1 second, y'all. Let me get this. Okay. I don't see any questions. But I don't know why this happens to me sometimes. I don't see them till after the live is done. I'm looking on the iPad. I'm not even going to look on the other phone because it's too small. But getting back to Manhood training is something we have to do, and we can impose it on the public school system. Manhood training is the only way to make men. The trend in this society and the plans for decades have been to emasculate black men and to prop up our women as laborers, more wanted laborers, putting them in jobs and positions when we shouldn't want to serve these people anyway. We should want to serve ourselves. But it's the only thing we got. All our hope is in the system. That's a hell of a curse, to have all our hope and our enemy and oppressor and having movements like manhood training is a countermeasure. Think over that. It's so bad being miseducated that manhood training, womanhood training, some sort of militancy training is a countermeasure. What are they doing? They're destroying our will to build families. Why are they destroying families? The man is the head. We are hunter by nature, man. We the provider by nature, black men. Since the beginning of time, we were the hunters, we were the warriors, we were the protectors, and the women weren't the hunters. Some of them were warriors. Some of them have that capability. That's where they shine. We didn't hinder them. You find black queens in the Nile Valley thousands of years ago, ruling the world. Hatshepsut, ruled the world. A woman, Candace of Ethiopia, ruled the world. You lack the knowledge yourself. You're not rooted in ourselves. We don't understand our nature because we let another man miseducate us. Go to the Nile Valley, look up, you see the man and the woman together. In some instances in Akhenaten, you see the whole family there. All relaxed, living in love, free. And now it's women in this society who are just not the first this, the first that. You're dummies for relating to such acknowledgments and accomplishments. Things that you think are an accomplishment when they emasculated us. The first thing they did was destroy the family. So manhood training, we need a manhood training center right in Hempstead. 100 Main Street, that's the hub, that's the center of Hempstead. A resource restoration center to restore us to ourselves. After slavery, there was no place for us to go where we could say, thank God we overcame that trauma, hundreds of years. We get taught the knowledge of self. We get taught how to build communities, how to do for self, how to defend ourselves, how to make weapons, how to grow our own. We knew all these things from slavery, but it wasn't formatted to where we dominate this and owned it. So we need a restoration resource center where we can train the knowledge of ourselves. We can put our greats and ancestors on the wall, put them up in pictures and monuments and statues. Marcus Garvey, Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Booker T. Washington, Sojourner Truth. In the school today, they don't teach on Marcus Garvey. They teach Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman in some places because they're a little more safer. And they'll teach a paragraph on Malcolm only because they were using him against us, the current nation of Islam. They never teach Marcus Garvey. They never teach him. Why? Because he was a nationalist that loved black America. He came up here from Jamaica. He wasn't accepted in Jamaica. He had a newspaper. All type of rejection was down in Jamaica. And when he came to America, he was in paradise. He loved what black people were doing. He came to meet Booker T. Booker T had passed before he came. Garvey saw them all black town. And when he came, he capitalized off that and built a great plan for us in Pan-Africanism. They never teach him in school. They're never going to teach him in school until you teach him. They teach Frederick Douglass. They teach Martin Luther King. They teach Rosa Parks. They teach you what the early safe Negro organizations were taught. They were taught just teach social justice and to be closer to white folks in equality and integration, but never self-sufficient in economics. That's why they got rid of Dr. King. Dr. King was a nationalist economically. In his last days, that letter from that Birmingham jail, the letter from Birmingham jail was to them preachers who was hating on him. Said, oh, we got to distance ourselves. These Negro preachers, they look like they love this community. They have our beautiful brother's name in their mouth. Dr. Martin Luther King, they're hypocrites. They're the same ones who back then in the 60s when Dr. King was speaking economic nationalism and going against the Vietnam War, they distanced themselves from him because they were never with him anyway. It was all a ploy. When Dr. King met with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, his whole perspective changed. He became a nationalist. He told black people to don't patronize white businesses, get your insurance from black people, get your bread from black people, and get all your services from black-owned entities. He became public enemy number one, and he went against the war, the Vietnam War. All of them preachers turned on him. That's what that letter was about. In jail, he wrote them. They were saying, Dr. King, you got to calm down. Be safe. Teach the non-economic social justice and integration. And he rejected them and murdered them. Dr. King paid the price so that these sellout preachers today can sell us out. They never put manhood training in the public schooling because it goes against. They had a madman come on a group we had in Facebook talking about it's a new code word for it. Before it was social justice and non-economic, I forgot the exact term for it, that the NAACP was formed. The NAACP was formed. W.D. Du Bois, why he left it at the end, he went to Ghana, became a communist. The NAACP specifically said, don't teach black people economics. Teach them to go look for a job, to go beg for a job from hostile Caucasians, deceptive Caucasians. While we have to form our own type of schooling. And when our leaders start going, my point was on that social media page, the troll came, a white troll came in talking about diversity and inclusion. That's the new catchphrases now for black people. Don't do nothing for yourself. Have diversity and inclusion. And that's all you should have. The arrogance of these demons to impose this on us. But what we got to impose on ourselves is getting that manhood training center up, where we train. Just what I'm talking about. History, economics, doing for self, entrepreneurialism, starting right in the community. Land ownership, home ownership, militancy, relationships. And manhood training is mainly how you develop in the men. It's men that make men. Where are the men? We can do it. Don't you know they have a proverb? My brother Arthur Barrett used to always put on his page. I remember it clearly. It was an African proverb that says, when you orphan a child from the village into the cold outside of the village, that orphan will burn down the village to feel its heat. We cannot keep abandoning our youth. We cannot keep abandoning our elders to senior homes. We got to build families and homes. That takes manhood training. Men taught to stand upright, to fight, to build, to have a mission and purpose. You have no purpose except to serve your enemy and do it diligently. I've spoken to school board members, and your minds are crippled, man. Your minds a lot. You have a you're constrained. Your minds are mapped. I said, brother, you got to teach them cultivation, civics. You got to teach them community value. To stop looking for some job at some corporation just to be a laborer and a consumer, but to come back into the community to build up the community. And one of the school board members, all of them do. All of them said this to me. So what? The Hempstead School Board, every last one of them that I presented this to, said, they're never going to do that. We can't do that. Oh, it's against the law. They're just slaves. But if you listen to them, look, we got 100%. We got a high enrollment rate. We got a high graduation rate. We got a high score. They all did high scores on serving other communities. Seeking a job to get out of the community, to serve a corporation. That's your aim. That's your goal. That's what you call success. Somebody serving a corporation, a greedy-ass corporation. Earnings went up during the last 2 years during the pandemic, 35% to 47%, some of them. Oligarchs and billionaires, earnings concentrated 35% more. And while the average American got poor, the poor class expanded drastically. Homelessness expanded drastically. It was all a class plan. That is apex and right in Hempstead. And we must teach our children to avert this, because the adults, many of you have given up. Many of you are broken. They can't rely on you. You're too broken. You've been buck broken. You're snakes, most of you. You're just opportunists. And you shield your opportunity with slogans: diversity and inclusion, the children, the community. I will bring about. You're just bullshitters, man. All of you. We need to be replaced. We need a different type of government in this village that reflects our nature, so we can simply install manhood training. We can install entrepreneur. We can just do it. Just go ahead and take our money and do it. Our tax dollars. Maybe we should do a property tax strike. Maybe we should do a school tax strike. Don't pay school tax. We need to do this by the thousand. This is the type of organization we need. This is the organizing we need. Don't pay any damn property taxes. Taxation with no representation is tyranny. That was a cry of the Boston Tea Party. Right now in Hempstead, it is over-taxation, paying somebody else's taxes, and misrepresentation is tyranny. And that's just the way they acted that board. We need to arrange a property tax strike. Thousands need to be a part of this. A school tax strike. You need to strike at these people. This is the only language they understand. Those of us that are surviving. And that, let me segue that into the update of about the civics in Hempstead. You know, we had the election March 15th for the special election for trustee, and I came in third. Suprema Law came in fourth, and Randy Stiff came in second, and Noah Burrows came in first. And through the special trustee election, it's like 1,000-something votes, and it was a mess. We updated that complaint past Governor Hochul to State Attorney General about electioneering. That is the village sending absentee ballots, sealed absentee ballots, but inside was the Democratic Party's candidate's flyer, Noah Burrows. Voter suppression, they just split 2 weeks before the election. I think maybe it was as close as 1 week, I believe, when we had to go inspect the ballot machines at the Board of Elections in Mineola, me, Randy, and mathematics. We were informed that districts had changed through the census. This was all, and voters were not informed, but they would be informed when they got to the polling place. How convenient. That's voter suppression. When you get to a polling place and then you're told you got to go somewhere else, it's hard enough to get into the special election for you to vote. Then you got to go 3/4 of a mile away, half a mile away, from Kennedy Park to Lawrence Middle School, and from the juvenile detention center, which need to be transformed. We need that into a juvenile development center, man. resource center training our youth. You had to vote there and walk half a mile to the firehouse on Jackson. Then they had another district that was only, they minimized, it was only 4 houses. They told us that with no time to let voters know that happened. That was voter suppression. That's electioneering, voter suppression, and not naming the write-in ballots. There's 59, I believe, write-in ballots. And we had to press and harangue and harass Well and Hobbs to say who is it. And we still haven't heard back. I haven't heard back who they were. And this was selective. Last year, I did a write-in campaign. Don Ryan knocked me off the ballot. So I did a write-in campaign as a protest, and I'm glad I did because it showed how corrupt they are. These bastards dug into one ballot machine and cracked open a blue crate that the ballots fall down into, pulled out one of my write-in votes at the firehouse on Jackson, closed the crate back, and put my name up on the screen. Last year, to mock me. Say he only had one. They didn't even count my write-in vote. I voted at the middle school. I did it perfect. I filled in a little bubble, printed my name perfectly clear with the pens they provided, put it in the machine, which many others did, and they didn't count any of my other write-in votes. But they pulled out one to mock me. Look, he only got one vote. And it was a troll on the social media. You saw, man, I never forget that man only got one vote. That one vote. I went in and saw him and said, man, you need to come up with a new joke because the joke is on you. This time it was 59 votes, and they refused to identify who those write-ins were. So we advanced that complaint to the New York State Attorney General. And let's see what comes out. But I'll keep you updated, family. Well, that's it. It's 9:22. Let me see if there's any questions. I would love to have some dialogue. I can't see it. I'm on an iPad. And for some reason, those comments, okay, it's just showing who's viewing. It's not showing. Okay. Well, anyway, fam, that's mainly what I had to say. It was the necessity of manhood training. Our community will only change until we change. And we cannot change under our current condition. Our current condition is devitalized. We are controlled by outsiders, and Hempstead resembles a colony. And right now, it's a vicious trap. These bastards been trapping us for 20 years. They want to take your building and your businesses. They know they're planning major gentrification, eminent domain, and killing your business through the construction of this huge, massive 300-acre plan where they plan on destroying everything and every little aspect within that footprint that they don't have allocated as going towards these developers. They're going to kill it through the construction. That's what they've been doing with gentrification for 100 years across America. They've been doing this to us. And this is the powerful lesson, Black America. Study Hempstead, because Hempstead, we sleep as hell. I'll be going throughout the village to these businesses, these apartment owners, giving them the heads up to take a stand. But most of us sleep as hell. And most of us are sleep as hell as to the scope and how detrimental this gentrification plan is. We really think we're going to be a part of something upscale like that. The optics will be there for you, but you will not have tangibles from it. You will not interact with these people. These newcomers, children will not go to school with your children. They're not going to share the economics with you. They're building a future, a generational wealth for themselves, but privately educating their children. And they're going to increase their police budget to a militarized police to keep you away from those luxury apartments. No parking outside of them. Right smack dab up to the sidewalk. You do window shopping, you do some little elbow rubbing here and there. But that's the way colonies are. Black America, study this village, because it's happening to you. You're being lured down to Atlanta now. Lower cost of living. They've been planning it for decades. They're starting to gentrify down there. They do it all through taxes, through affordable housing. It's affordable housing. They're devils. They paint things as fair seeming. They make it look good, but you're paying other people's taxes. You need ownership, housing, homes, property, to increase community value, to create generational wealth. Doing for yourself within the community. This affordable housing make you think, I got a little job and buy my salary. Most of that stuff is lottery. Most of them are allocated towards these sellouts and their friends and their family. That's why they're so zealous to stay in office. They've been made promises and favors. You'll get along like Pharaoh's helpers. You get to sit by my side and watch me while the rest of the children of Israel I'm taking out of here. Killing the fathers and the husbands, sparing the women and the children. In America, they're so wicked, they don't even spare the women and the children. Killing you too. Black America. Watch Hempstead. It's the microcosm of what is going to happen around the nation, and you can prevent it in your town, your city, your village. It may be structured different, whether it's a city, a municipality, a town, or a village. Don't pay other people's taxes. You have to get on these boards. You have to go to the school board meetings, the village board meetings, and confront these people and make them explain. Get rid of that damn 3-minute. Let the people speak. Get rid of this stuff. Take charge of it. We got to do this. And only men can do it. Manhood training. It takes a man to make a man. Only we can do it. We can do it. That's our vision, family. A restoration resource center doing manhood and womanhood training. But I'm just coming from the manhood perspective now, because that's how I was trained. But I will have sisters on board who will provide the womanhood training. We need it. Everything else we have is failing us. The police state has failed us. They have criminalized our poverty. They have broken up our families. It's all been on purpose. Europeans have always had smaller families than us. That individualism, that little just 1-2 child. We've always had extended families. Since the beginning of the time. It's a way of life with us. Uncles and aunties and stuff. It just laid our good brother to rest, Brother Harry Fletcher, over on the hills. When I was growing up in the 70s, it was beautiful. We were all, the children, we would get together and decide whose house we're going to go over to play over. And it was always a treat for us to go over to the Fletchers, because we'd be in the basement. And I was at the going home service, and they had the picture of Brother Harry in that chair in the finished basement, and I recognized that. And I said, yeah, that was a fun time we had. As a child, a little child, watching the little 8mm projector on the wall of the cartoons was funner than going to the movie for me at that age, because there we had the little snacks, then we were playing around and all the little furniture down there. Couldn't do that at the movie. But Harry was always like, a mentor and elder. And I raised the question on my page, do we even still do this anymore? We're losing our homes by the thousands. We're going to lose everything in a home we could get together with families. A lot of immigrants do it. They're opportunists. They come here to earn more gold for their labor, just like they trick many of us coming over here to do. And we just need trustworthy families. This is the manhood training. To train a man, not to touch a woman inappropriate, not even to speak to a woman inappropriate. It's discipline, militancy, and a sense of culture, roots. I named our militant group Roots. That's the name of our militant group. We don't touch children inappropriately. Brother Abdul Hafiz Muhammad, may Allah be pleased with him, That is not a dead man. That is a live spirit, my brother. He embodied the term being pleasing to Allah through Minister Farrakhan. He was always, Brother Abdullah Hafiz, that's all he lived for, was to be pleasing in the sight of Allah by being dutiful to Minister Farrakhan. I used to drive him sometimes. I learned a lot from my brother. And he would let you have it, boy. He would tell you in an indirect way too. But sometimes he would let loose, tell you about yourself. And that brother, he did manhood training. And when we have these families, we got to respect each other. You know, let the woman go to her greatest potential. To children, let them be free. Stop all this excessive whipping. If we got to start with having the homes, building the family, you know, a network, then we can do it through socializing, the institution where we socialize in the institution. We teach courting. We teach marriage. We teach responsibility. When we had home economics in school, we need to teach this. Relationships. Even arranged marriages in some instances. We have to raise our orphan children. The brothers, we're not responsible, man. We in the wilderness of North America. This is why you act like a dog. Trying to impregnate and get as many women as we can. It's become a way of life to us, man. I never forget those sneaky brothers, man. I never did admire any brother with all that sneak in him. It was just too much smoothness and, you know, I understand being smooth, but I'm talking about being sneaky towards a woman. You got a woman, you're hiding the fact that you're going to another woman, but you're all silvery tongued with her. For what? To have sex with this woman, to have her as possession, as a conqueror, when we don't face our oppressor, the real conqueror. We got to fight, brothers. That mackishness, that pimpishness in us, that's a broken state. It's not a man. A man is a hunter, maintainer, protector, and provider of our women and family and children, extended families. We got to get back to extended families. And we can train in the homes. We got to take back our homes. We lost our homes by the thousands. We can do it, but this is just a little vision I'm putting out here, that we could refine it and make it practical so that we can win. We can start winning again. We're not winners. We consume whatever we fed and we satisfied with nothing but crumbs. And you're poor, not because you decide to be. You're poor because you trust people, you trust rich people to plan for you. You are poor, not because you're inferior, not because you don't know how to spend your money, and not because you're black. You are poor because you trust rich people, politicians, and sellout preachers who misrepresent us. And we've got to get a restoration resource center to correct. We need corrective behavior. We need countermeasures. We need corrective institutions. We can do it right in our communities if we are bold enough to take charge of them. The momentum is building. Join the coalition of concerned citizens. Join a group. Don't join the sellout groups. They're doing nothing. None of them are speaking up against this devitalization and this miscultivation of us. We need cultivation and refinement and building. Join the coalition of concerned citizens of Hempstead, and let's unite. Build a cultural center, a restoration resource center, credit union. Let's force the schools to do good by us. Got to get rid of that broken board. They're broken. They're just broken, all of them. All of them at that Hempstead school board. All of them on the village board. They're broken. but we're people that are whole, and we can make it happen. They planning a grand gentrification project in Hempstead to destroy everything around us, make it a new Hempstead. But like I told you, they make a plan, and Allah put his plan right on top of theirs. I thank you for listening to me, family. And if you have any questions later, I'll answer them in the comments section. But I'll be expanding this Facebook Live to a page. I have an Aubrey Muhammad page and the Oasis Natural Living page. That's my cookbook. I'll be doing natural living, cuisines, videos, healthy lifestyle, healthy mental lifestyle too. But this is more towards community enhancement because this is so vital now. This is the big movement. We got to stop this gentrification project. We got to replace it with our own project, a vision of building a strong community. Manhood training, womanhood training, entrepreneurialism, ownership, increasing community value, transforming. A paradigm shift at the educational system. They're miseducating us and they're proud of it. They brag about it. They're sick. They have the mental disease of white-mindedness. But we have the cure. We are the righteous. Nothing will stop us. Family, yeah, it's 9:36. All right, family, Ramadan Mubarak. Please try to do as much Ramadan as we can. Let's keep a good spirit. Let's keep our fire, our focus, and our vision. And I leave you as I greeted you in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.